Hello, dear friends, I'm with you. Today, I will introduce you to a very interesting mod called Corundum Meadows, which translates as Corundum Meadows. At the moment, the mod exists only for the Minecraft version 1.16.5 and adds several new colorful biomes, beautiful structures, more than 16 unique mobs, and even one cool boss to the game. By the way, new mechanics are also in fashion, and they are very interesting. In addition, there is a new music disc, new achievements, as well as a lot of decorative blocks and new tools and weapons. In addition, it also modifies the standard biomes of the plains somewhat. So, let's look at the new biomes first. Corundum Meadows are a very bright biome with many flowering plants, butterflies flutter everywhere, and various animals roam. The earth in this biome is covered with green moss. It grows not only on the ground, but also on rocks, and you can also meet a new boss in this biome, but about him a little later. Blooming white meadows are also a very bright biome. It is in many ways similar to Corundum Meadows. There are also a lot of plants and various animals here, but the ground here is mostly covered not with moss, but with ordinary grass. And the most important thing is that there are a lot of fluffy flowers growing here, which look like dandelions. Some of these fluffy flowers grow up to such gigantic sizes. In general, this whole biome is a kind of green carpet with a scattering of white plants on it, very beautiful, pleasantly pleasing to the eye of the place. Flower meadows are another kind of meadows. It looks like the two previous biomes, but here the entire surface is strewn with a wide variety of colors. But these flowers are different from those that grow in the vanilla flower biome. That is, almost all the plants here are out of fashion. Arid meadows. And this biome is an arid wasteland. The color of the grass is the same as in the savanna, but bald patches of stony grass are often found. The vegetation here is quite sparse and not bright. Mushroom meadows are a kind of mushroom biome. Unlike the vanilla mushroom biome, there is no mycelium, but there is an ordinary earth, but only with very bright grass. Large and small fly agarics grow everywhere. Mushroom cows are found, and new mobs spawn here, fly agaric crabs. But we'll talk about them again a little later. In addition to biomes, the mod adds new interesting structures, among which there are both quite minimalistic, like birds' nests, and beautiful large houses made of blocks that the mod adds. Let's take a look at them out of the corner of our eye. The winemaker's house. The house is made of light blocks on a foundation of chamois stones, and the roof is made of magnolia wood. There's a garden with a vineyard on the side. An ordinary villager with a farmer's profession lives in this house. Here he has something to profit from. You can find grapes, wine, and even have a chance to find a corundum crystal. The magician's tower is a very stylish building in dark colors, with corundum columns and a roof of black stone. There are also many corundum blocks inside. Went and cooking, and the table of enchantments, as well as the skull of the skeleton of the visor. There are a lot of treasures in the chests here, and oddly enough, a vanilla priest lives in this house. The seamstress's house is a spacious white house on a brick foundation, and with a green roof. There is also something to profit from if you rummage through the chests. Food, thread, leather, frozen tangerines, and much, much more. In barrels you can find a cool syrup, and on the second floor there are cots where you can skip the night. No seamstress really lives in this house, but an ordinary shepherd. Mushroom house. It is very rare to find a mushroom witch's house in the biome of mushroom meadows. The house is very beautiful, bright, and made in the form of a large plump fly agaric. In the house, in addition to the witch herself, you can find her gorgeous black cat, and a lot of useful things. Somehow, a potion maker, a corundum bioprocessor, a crib, and there are various potions, golden fruits, and other valuable loot in the chests. Well, if you are not lazy and break through the ceiling, Then you can find blocks of mushroom light and redstone in the attic. The tanner's house. It's such a small house made of dark wood and buffalo wool. The roof is made in some Viking style, but in fact, the foundation and windows of the building are quite civil. Inside the house, though not too spacious, but quite cozy. On the ground floor, there is a smokehouse, a rack with leather armor, and a chest that can be half hidden. Well, if you climb up, there will be an attic floor, where there is a crib and another chest. Somewhere near the house, or even right in it, you can find a villager with the profession of a tanner. Sometimes a piece of a field with such an interesting scarecrow comes across in arid fields. It doesn't really do anything, just stands on the field. Well, at least you can profit from wheat here. The Corundum altar is the place where the boss stands, the Corundum Guardian. He stands there motionless because he sleeps until he is disturbed. Altai is a stand of Corundum blocks with 4 columns. But we'll talk about the Guardian itself a little later. And now let's look at some plants added by the mod. Meadow moss. This moss is found in some new biomes and can cover both earth and rock. This moss itself can be obtained with a shovel by right-clicking on a block of earth with moss itself, but not on a stone. This way you will tear the moss off the block, and the bare earth will remain under it. Don't worry, it will grow back pretty quickly. In addition, it is able to spread to adjacent blocks of bare earth. A piece of torn moss can be used in crafting mossy blocks, steps, and so on. Moss can also be bred with bone meal. To do this, you need to plant it on a block of land and right-click on it with bone meal. But be careful. With this method, new meadow moss blocks arise, and they can replace any other blocks. It doesn't matter whether it's stone, lava, obsidian, and attention, even bedrock. So here it is for you, a little life hack from Marunyashka on punching the thigh in survival mode. However, you will not break through it to the abyss, because moss does not germinate down, but on the other hand, you will be able to level out the perfect thigh floor for yourself. A small fluffy flower is not just some kind of flower for decorating the landscape, but a very useful plant in everyday life. In the absence of sheep, wool blocks can be made from such flowers. And besides, with their help, these beautiful woven checkered blocks are being crafted. And they are also needed to create this kind of powder, which is also very useful. Well, about it later. Well, with a giant fluffy or dandelion flower, you can directly collect blocks of wool without having to craft something there. And even the stem of this flower is a very useful building material. You can remake it into boards and semi-blocks of such a beautiful green color and pleasant texture. Well, from the boards themselves, you can generally craft a bunch of everything, including a variety of decorative blocks, plus all sorts of doors, gates, steps, buttons, hatches, and so on. You can grow a giant dandelion fluffy yourself if you use bone meal or magnolia pollen on a small fluffy. Magnolia is a new kind of tree added by the biome. Magnolias are different. In particular, white magnolias grow in white meadows, and in other places they are so red. But the real, so to speak, true magnolias are red. The white magnolia has only wood. Real magnolia is the main source of magnolia flowers, which are needed to create such beautiful flower blocks. Magnolia wood is used as ordinary wood. In particular, it can be made of such beautiful reddish boards. Well, of these as usual, steps, half blocks, shelves, doors, gates, and so on. If you want to grow a real magnolia, then for this you need to get magnolia pollen and use it on magnolia seedlings. Bone meal does not affect seedlings, and they do not germinate without pollen. Where to get pollen? We'll talk about this in a little while. If you want to grow a white magnolia, then you need to find a flower like this. It is called yarrow ordinary, and this yarrow needs to be fed with either bone meal or magnolia pollen. The meadow tree is the main source of meadow fruits. Meadow trees are plentiful in the world as large trees and seedlings. But their seedlings do not germinate by themselves. Again, magnolia pollen is needed for their germination. The trunk of a meadow tree is thinner than that of an ordinary one, but you can still get wood from it, and this wood can be converted into magnolia boards. However, not 4-4, as from a conventional block of wood, but 4-2. And the log of a meadow tree can be cut. It will turn out to be such a thin hewn log. Frosty tangerine is a fruit which is a whole adventure to get. You will have to go to cold biomes and look for structures very similar to blocks of ice there. In these blocks, you need to find blocks similar to blocks of dense ice, but with a slightly different texture. At the same time, you should have a heated thermal stone with you. By right-clicking on such blocks, you will defrost them, and these frozen tangerines will fall out of them. At the same time, the stone itself will cool down. It will need to be heated again. Frosty tangerines' fruits are very useful and necessary. In particular, they are used for the manufacture of cooling syrup. Why is it needed? And where can I get a thermal stone at all? About this in due time. Grapes are a plant with a height of 2 blocks, found here and there all over the world, and it happens in the form of empty bushes, and sometimes with berries. If a plant has berries, it can be destroyed, and grapes can be harvested, which will be useful to you for crafting wine. It is not possible to grow it yet, although there are alternative ways of obtaining grapes, but again about them a little later. In general, there are a lot of different plants in fashion, but it doesn't make much sense to consider each one separately. Most of them are used as ordinary plants to create dyes. Travel, collect, study. I advise you to install a Jishka. It will greatly facilitate your task. However, I will draw your attention to a couple of plants. The first is these plantain leaves. They are used for crafting ground plantain, which in turn is used for herbal mixture. And perhaps you will not immediately pay attention to these nondescript leaves, so remember them. And the second plant is a burdock. It's actually bright, beautiful, you can't miss it, but it is terribly prickly and will hurt. So be careful with him. It is also used for crafting herbal mixture. Well, we went to look at the modoc and its charms further. Now we turn to the living creatures. So, first on this list is the meadow rodent. It looks like some kind of hybrid of a rabbit with a hamster or a chinchilla. His health is 6 hearts. It is found in lowland biomes, such as the same meadows. It can be tamed with watermelons or meadow fruits, the same ones that fall out of the foliage of meadow trees. Meadow rodents do not run after the owner, but behave roughly like pigs or sheep. Tamed rodents can be propagated with the help of meadow fruits, and sometimes they come out with the help of watermelons. True, they do not give offspring instantly, and sometimes they are a little stupid. To quickly grow a small rodent, feed it with watermelon seeds. After feeding your pet with meadow fruit syrup, you will receive in return various products with a randomizer, watermelon seeds, pieces of gold, golden carrots, golden apples, simple enchanted, and golden meadow fruits. After death, onion rodents give skin and meat. By the way, there are also tundra rodents. They come across in cold biomes and differ from their meadow counterparts in that they have a light skin and pink paws and a nose. And health is 1 more heart, 7 hearts. The tundra rodent is tamed by frozen tangerines. Rotato rat is a kind of rodent. It appears at night in lowland biomes, feuds with a mob called the terrible bird. We'll talk about it in just a couple of minutes. The wild behaves extremely aggressively, immediately attacks, and it will not work to tame this, but you can still get yourself such a pet. To do this, you need to feed an adult domestic meadow or tundra rodent with a specific syrup. Then he will turn into a rat and will be considered yours. The rat is purple, bigger than a meadow rodent, and he has 1.5 times more health, 10 hearts. And although he still won't follow you like a dog, he can be put on a leash and dragged along. Because it can attack your targets. That is, if they beat you, then he doesn't care, but if you hit him, he will happily pounce on the target. If you feed it with a specific syrup, it will give you a random loot like a meadow rodent. However, this loot has a very specific character. These can be slugs, bones, blowfish, poisonous potatoes, spider eyes, and the head of a skeleton. After death, Prisiac drops meat, but I strongly do not recommend you to eat it, because you will be poisoned, and if you are not lucky, it is possible to die. A terrible bird. It occurs in small groups, and I have come across them many places. They are neutral towards the player, at least until they are hit. But they hunt meadow rodents, sheep and pigs. They have 17.5 hearts in their lives. After death, they drop their feathers and meat. You can tame a terrible bird, but there is only one way to grow it from an egg. To do this, somewhere in the meadows where these birds live, find a nest with an egg. Be careful. Next to the nest usually walks the bird to which this egg belongs. It differs from others in black color, and it is aggressive to the player initially. But if she is far enough away and does not see you, then you can steal eggs without fear, nothing will happen. Then, you need to craft a nest of 8 feathers, set it on the ground, and put an egg there. Then warm up the egg with a thermal stone. To do this, right-click on the egg in the nest with a heated thermal stone until the chick hatches. In order to rapidly grow a chick, you need to feed it with the meat of meadow rodents. The tamed terrible bird has 25 health units. Why do ostriches need such a miracle? In fact, you can ride it, and it runs quite smartly, although it does not jump. To do this, you need to craft a special saddle. It is done this way. Materials from fashion are used here. We will consider them later. When you right-click on a saddled bird, its inventory will open to you. The saddle gives the bird an additional protection of 10 units, adds inventory in 9 slots, and allows you to make a kind of exchange with it, in which it is clear that you can give something to the bird, and it will give you something in return. But you can only change certain things for other certain things. The birds themselves cannot be propagated, but you can exchange an egg from them for a camp soup. It will not work to remove the saddle back. Saddled terrible birds can help you in battle. They will attack whoever you hit, just like the rats do. A hairy bison. I liked this beast perhaps the most of all. It is found in cold biomes, and it has just amazing branched horns. The hairy bison is neutral to the player if he is not angry. He has 25 units of life. It does quite a lot of damage, especially to an underserved player. Well, after death, he drops his skin, his buffalo hair, and beef. Bison wool has quite a few uses. Well, at least you can use it to make a crib. Do you remember that strange fruit, frozen tangerine? So, it is needed to tame a hairy bison. A tamed bison can be saddled. There are 2 types of saddles for him, cargo and combat. Their crafts are like this. A cargo saddle will make a real powerlifter out of your hairy bison. With the right mouse button in the squat, you can open his inventory and stuff a bunch of stuff there. The armored saddle, in turn, will make your pet a real fighting machine that will attack everything in its path. In the battle saddle, Buffalo's eyes turn red, and 25 health units are added to him. So in total, he will have 50 units at once, and he becomes very aggressive. He runs around and destroys everyone he can reach. When you ride a fighting bison on horseback, you feel like you're on a tank. He will kick the horns of everyone who turns up on the way. I couldn't reproduce them. They are filled with the same frozen tangerines. Hawk moths. Their name literally translates from English as hawk moth. This is such a butterfly. It occurs in various biomes, and there are 4 varieties: moonlight, forest, wine, and death's head. These butterflies have caterpillars, respectively, that crawl on the ground and slowly devour the foliage that they can reach. But you can also feed them blocks of vanilla oak foliage, meadow tree foliage, or magnolia with the right mouse button. When they are full, they will turn into a cocoon and fall out as an object. With this cocoon, right-click somewhere on the block, and then our hawk moth will hatch. He doesn't fly behind us, but it will be very convenient to sleep him where we want. Hawk moth is needed to get the very pollen of magnolia, which I mentioned earlier. But not just her. If you feed a butterfly with magnolia flowers, then depending on what kind of variety it is, various objects will fall out of it. The moon hawk moth can produce eggs of the moon caterpillar, magnolia pollen, sugar, light dust, mystical fruit, and diamonds. The wine hawk moth gives eggs of wine caterpillars, magnolia pollen, sugar, grapes, emeralds, and corundum. The forest hawk moth gives eggs of a forest caterpillar, magnolia pollen, sugar, holy dust, red dust, and apples. Magnolia pollen is most often found, but caterpillar eggs and all sorts of diamonds are extremely rare. The hawk moth has 10 hearts of health, and after death, they drop only experience. The caterpillars have 6 hearts of health, and the fraction is a slug. A somewhat separate kind of hawk moth is a death's head. He needs unusual magnolia flowers, but dried ones. You can dry them in the oven or on the fire. When you treat a dead head with dried magnolia flowers, you can get a caterpillar egg, bone meal, quartz, gunpowder, fire powder, phantom membrane, gas tear, visor, skeleton skull, and visor rose as a thank you. Fruity is a small, very timid creature that can appear when the foliage of a meadow tree is destroyed. He is very nimble and has only 4 hearts. After death, a meadow fruit drops, but if it is not killed, but fed with enhanced syrup, it will turn into another creature, a puffy. Puffy is a green flying smiley with a daisy-shaped propeller on its head, which has 6 hearts of health. There's no point in killing him, he doesn't drop anything. But if you feed him a golden meadow fruit, he will impose a second-level luck effect on you for 3 minutes. True, the golden fruit is expensive to craft, but I think the game is worth the candle. Mushroom crab. A small mob with a health of 5 hearts. He is neutral to the player until he is hit. After death, he drops mushrooms. It lives in mushroom clearings. If the player gave him mushrooms, then you can get bone meal for them with a certain chance, or if you gave infernal mushrooms gunpowder. The white catfish is a very beautiful fish. It never attacks the player. She has 7 hearts. After death, he drops catfish meat and caviar. It occurs somewhere in reservoirs. When feeding with kelp, it can give away its eggs. Meat can be cooked. I tried to shove it into the bucket myself, to put it in the aquarium, but alas, it does not land in the bucket, at least not yet. An ancient titanium turtle is found somewhere in the meadows. She has as many as 60 units of life. Initially neutral to the player, and it's better not to anger her, because she hits pretty hard. After death, it drops moss, a shell, and a sapling of a servant tree, that is in fact what grows on it. This turtle can be tamed by feeding it mystical fruits, the ones that give the moon hawks. By the way, it is also filled with them if necessary. With a tamed turtle, you can remove pieces of the shell with the right mouse button with a corundum chisel. These pieces can then be overcooked into vanilla turtle shields, which are used for crafting a turtle helmet. But the use of pieces of shell does not end there. If they are overlaid with a turtle helmet, then you can craft a titanium turtle helmet. He has armor 4, armor hardness 3, and has a resistance to being thrown, also 3. It's cool because it increases your defense, though it slows you down. But this is only on land, and there is no slowing effect in the water. But there is the effect of underwater breathing. Beskornitsa, or holodomer, extremely unpleasant and initially aggressive creatures. They live in arid biomes. Both the larva and the adult individual, even by their very presence, impose the effect of hunger on the player. Larvae often hide in crops and beds. The larva crawls just surprisingly fast for a caterpillar. The larva's health is 4.5 hearts. After death, she drops rot, from which you can make a slug. An adult butterfly has 9.5 hearts of health. The same rot, wheat, bone meal falls out of it, as well as the lower jaw, with a rare chance. From such jaws and rot, you can make a sword that removes all healing effects from the target and imposes hunger on it. Wild magnolia and blooming zombie. These two monsters are connected. Wild magnolia can spawn at night, as well as randomly when the foliage of the magnolia is destroyed, regardless of the time of day. Wild magnolia hunts zombies and players in groups, turning them into blooming zombies, which further contribute to the spread of flowering, killing zombies and players again. A blooming zombie does not burn in the sun. He has 11 hearts of health, and after death, calls for 1 to 3 wild magnolias. Wild magnolia has 6 hearts of health. After death, drop magnolia flowers. Both monsters are extremely vulnerable to fire. Corunduit is a fairly rare pug, which can be found mainly in caves. He runs away from the player, runs very fast, and has only 2 hearts of life. After death, Corundum drops, and also with a rare chance, you can get a music disc. Corundum Guardian is a new just-on and the coolest boss. Most often you can come across it in Corundum Meadows, but it can also come across in other meadows. Initially, he is not active and stands quietly on his pedestal, activated as soon as the player gets too close. His health is 125 units of life, and everything would be fine, but almost no throwing weapon takes it. Moreover, he is able to restore his hit points, blow up the ground around him, make quick jerks behind the enemy, summon homing fuses. In general, fighting with him without proper equipment is a dead number. You need good armor and weapons that damage deals more than he has time to heal. You will not be able to use a bow to the Guardian, but it is not useless, because you can shoot down its homing fuses with arrows. By the way, they have 2 hearts each. If you defeat him, you will get a noncerite scrap, a little iron ingots, but most importantly ancient corundum. In place of the crashed car, you will find the pilot of this exoskeleton. As you can see, this is a small corundum, and it is completely crazy and does not run away anywhere. You need to choose to kill him or spare him. If you want to kill, click the left mouse button. If you want to spare, the right one. The reward will depend on your choice. If you regret it, you will get a positive corundum crystal, and if not, then a -1. Both are equally useful, each in its own way. But more on that in a few minutes, because we've come to the next part of our video, namely Corundum. So, Corundum is a new resource, which is largely all the fuss. It appears at about the same level as diamonds, and with about the same frequency. But, in the biome of Corundum bows a little more often. He participates in a lot of crafting of new items and blocks. Corundum blocks, in particular glass, are resistant to explosions. It doesn't make sense to show the crafting of each block separately. Jishka to help you. Corundum amulet. Craft is like this. This amulet increases your chances of survival. When used, it gives second-level absorption effects, third-level resistance, and second-level fire resistance for 10 seconds. One amulet is enough for 10 uses. In addition, the Corundum amulet is used for crafting a Corundum pouch, a reverse and direct converter, as well as for a bioprocessing station. Corundum abrasive is crafted like this. This thing allows you to repair tools right on the way, although it removes all the glasses, and you can use it only 10 times. In principle, he repairs all tools except the chisel. A Corundum chisel or chisel is crafted like this. The strength is 2,000 units. Turns various stone blocks into bricks. To do this, the blocks must be exposed in the world, and you need to press the right mouse button while holding the tool in your right hand. If you take a chisel in your left hand, you can redo these blocks' mortise options. A Corundum machete is crafted like this. It allows you to destroy foliage most effectively, and also serves as a good weapon. He has 5 damage, 2 attack speed, and strength as much as 4,000 units. Corundum villas. It is crafted in this way. This thing effectively peels moss from mossy blocks, while extracting moss itself, in particular even blooming. Also, the turf is stripped from the grass blocks, that is, they turn the grass blocks into simple earth. It can also be used as a regular shovel. There are no paths to make, but they dig these wines very quickly, almost like an enchanted shovel. And their attack has as much as 8 units. The strength is 2,000 units. Diamond and non-cerite multi-tools. These are tools that do absolutely everything. They cut down trees, stone, dig the ground, make paths, and at the same time can even dig up beds. The truth is only if you take it in your left hand. Crafting a diamond is like this. And the non-graphite is made in the blacksmith's table by upgrading the diamond multi-tool with the help of a non-ferrite alloy with corundum, which in turn is crafted from corundum and non-graphite ingots. The strength of the diamond is 6,400, the damage is 10, the strength of the non-granite is 10,000, the damage is 11 units. A corundum sword is crafted by adding antique corundum to a non-jade sword in a blacksmith's table. Strength is 4,000 units, damage is 9 units. Its bonus is that it increases the experience you get in combat. The corundum pouch is crafted like this. This is a small bag for carrying things. There are 15 slots in it. It has a built-in trash can, with which you can get rid of the junk that got into the inventory. Helmet with feathers. It is made from the feathers of terrible birds and corundum. It increases your movement speed while you wear it on your head. Armor 2, hardness 0.5, corundum bioprocessor. Crafting it is very expensive. This device allows you to process plant or natural materials such as seeds, vegetables, flowers, cacti, seedlings, or rotten flesh into mystical fruits. So we can say that this is an alternative source of obtaining mystical fruits, the same ones with which we tamed the turtle. And they are also used to craft experience bubbles, mystical syrup, and a block of mystical fruits. Ancient corundum pickaxe. It is crafted from ancient corundum crystals, amulets, and sticks. Her strength is 800 units, damage is 4. As you understand, it will be possible to craft it only after defeating the boss. This pickaxe has 3 levels. At the first level, it is quite effective, but not particularly durable. For pumping up to the second level, a non-silver ingot is used. At the second level, Kirkata is faster. Her strength is 1,800, damage is 8. To upgrade to the third level, you need a Nazarite alloy, which I have already shown you. On the third level, the pickaxe beckons a 3x3 area at high speed. If you hold down the squat key, the pickaxe will mine 1 block at a time. The strength at the third level is 8,000 and the damage is 12 units. Forward and reverse converters. Crafting is the same, just one has a positive and the second has a negative corundum. The reverse converter changes the resource into 3 copies of a less valuable resource. Positive, on the contrary, 3 copies of a certain resource into 1 but more valuable resource. To use it, you need to put the converter in a crafting cell along with the necessary resources. The converters are not infinite. There are enough of them for 100 times thermal stone. I've already mentioned this thing, but I didn't say where to get it. In fact, it is a corundum crystal overlaid with an ordinary stone. To make it heated, you need to fry it in the oven. Well, let's finally take a look at the food, ingredients, all sorts of syrups, and find out what to do with them. Most types of meat are edible. Exceptions are rat meat. It is poisonous, imposes poisoning of the second level, and starvation of the third. Camp chowder is made like this. It gives the effect of the power of the second level source and restores your hunger to the fullest. Fruits are also edible, except for unripe meadow fruits. These impose nausea and hunger, both of the second level, and frozen tangerines are also better not to eat. They impose on you the slowness of the second level, though for a couple of seconds. But mature meadow fruits give the effect of a smooth fall of the second level. The syrups I mentioned earlier are a separate story. First of all, to make them, you need to first make these strong bottles. They are made of corundum glass. In total, 7 types of liquids can be placed in such bottles. The first of them is wine. It is made from grapes and sugar, and, when consumed, gives strength of the second level and nausea of the fourth, and the nausea lasts longer. But in fact, wine is a useful thing, because a specific syrup is made from it. To craft it, you need dried magnolia flowers and unripe meadow fruits. It is not worth drinking this brew yourself, because it imposes the effective blindness of the second level, nausea of the third, hunger of the fourth, and strength of the third level for 20 seconds. But it is intended in general, not for you, but for rodents. Then, there is this herbal decoction. It gives luck of the second level and regeneration of the third for 30 seconds. To make it, you will have to run around the fields and meadows and pick flowers, because it needs a mixture of herbs and honey. For a mixture of herbs, you need to collect all the right herbs, so be careful. It's not for nothing that I showed you plantain and burdock at the very beginning. In addition, you can craft experience bubbles from a mixture of herbs. Just need to add more mystical fruit and magnolia pollen. Plus, 3 vanilla bottles. You will get 3 bubbles of experience at once. Meadow fruit syrup gives speed and a smooth drop of the second level for 40 seconds. To craft it, you need magnolia pollen and meadow fruits. The cooling syrup imposes the slowness of the second level and the absorption of the fourth. But the slowness is only 2 seconds, and the absorption is 40. Frozen tangerines and magnolia pollen are needed for crafting. Mystical syrup adds experience. It is made from mystical fruit and magnolia pollen, and it is needed for crafting the next syrup. Enhanced syrup. It is made from mystical syrup, magnolia pollen, and golden meadow fruits. It imposes second-level regeneration for 10 seconds, second level strength for 15 seconds, and second level absorption and health surge for 20 seconds. Well, dear friends, I showed you a mod called Corundum Meadows. Personally, I have the most pleasant impressions from this fashion. Even though it was just released, I didn't notice a lot of bugs in it. I really liked the animals. They have detailed models, beautiful textures are selected, not to mention their unique properties. Everyone turned out to be very different. It's really interesting to play with them. I want to look for them and tame them. In addition to peaceful mobs, there are also hostile ones that are no less original, and the boss was generally pleased with his hardcore. It is quite clear that at the beginning of the game, you can't beat this, and you need to develop quite a lot to go into battle with him. Outwardly, it is also worked out smartly, but I personally have never raised my hand to his cute pilot. Biomes are beyond praise, very colorful, right in every one. I want to build myself a residence. I couldn't choose which of the biomes I liked the most, because everyone is good in their own way. I also really like the new blocks. Beautiful saturated colors, especially Corundum. Let's hope that this mod will develop further. And what do you think about this fashion, my dear viewers? Did you like him? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments section under this video. Put your fingers up and share my videos with your friends. By the way, you will always find a link to the mod in the description under the video. Well, that's it for today. See you soon, dear friends. Bye bye bye.